Okay, State Farm. This is Michael Ash here with Panda Exteriors. I am at the Willerton residence. Today is the 4th of February, a little bit over 50 degrees. We are performing an attempt at repair on this specific shingle. I've got it labeled as F1, so front damage count 1. I'm unsure of what the total damage count that was written for repair is, but I do have some markings and labels out on the roof that I wanted to show for. But we will be repairing with this specific shingle that was left over in the shed and documenting each stage of the process as I break the bonds of the 2 rows above and find the seam of this shingle. This damaged shingle here is obvious, and pull the nails out of each row so that I can remove this specific shingle as gently as possible with the proper tools and methods of the roof snake. Replace new nails if we have to by sliding a new shingle in and documenting each stage of that process to see if there's any concerning details that we should probably equate for. And just from experience being on a lot of roofs and, you know, doing a lot of accounts with State Farm, this is definitely one of those that I can tell and have already documented in our RLS report that most likely would be considered a non-repairable roof. I mean, it'd be very hard to repair without impacting the surrounding areas, which would be then consequential to that direction of repair. And at some point, just continue to multiply across the roof as we create these little patchworks of repairs all over. And I've been on a lot of roofs that are repairable. I think it's fairly safe to assume that on a builder grade 3-tab shingle that's, you know, really over 15 years old, let alone over 20, the ability to repair one specific shingle 1 for 1, meaning, hey, that's damaged, pull that out and repair it just with a singular slide in, is very, very low without creating more damage to it. And that's why, you know, when you see professional roof repairs by roofing companies, which I've got a lot of experience in myself, you will never see a roof repair done with just one shingle. It's usually in patchwork frames of, you know, ratios. Like, here's this damaged shingle, we're going to repair it with 4 others around it because it's not going to hold in the right way. It wouldn't be considered a proper repair to do it any less. So I just wanted to document this damage count assessment. Here on the front slope, we have 20 damaged shingles that I have labeled with a blue strike, and I'm fairly certain they were all accounted for in the initial inspection. So I just wanted to make sure that we were you know, looking at the same thing and kind of can discuss what the best solution for some of this is, because repairing 1 for 1 could be absolutely impossible just from construction here, where we have 2 damaged shingles right below a raised ridge vent system, which would have to be removed, both ridge cap shingles and the plastic vinyl ridge system, just to be able to access the nails from these shingles that are damaged, so that we can remove those shingles with access alone and then replace. And in doing so, that, like, this is a continuous ridge. This is like one long piece that is cut for this specific dimension and measurement here. So removing a piece of that to access the nails, like, that's not how we do things. That's not how construction works. Same thing next to it, where here, instead of the raise, we have the seal. So here's the seal of the ridge. In order to access the nails of this specific shingle, these are very tightly bonded, as you can tell. We'd have to tear that up just to access the nails. That's obviously not a 1-to-1 ratio for repair or replace. So I've got these marked out to kind of show for the impact that a true proper repair would actually create on the roof. And I didn't go all over the roof like I have in the past sense, because most of this is pretty clear and self-explanatory. It just needs the proper documentation so that we're all looking at the same thing, right? We want to be able to help the Willerton family with the right solution. They've been, I think, paying into State Farm for many years. They are elderly, disabled, and Mr. Dave Willerton is a disabled veteran. So I want to make sure that we're doing right by them. This is one of those it's not that big of a roof, and it is a you know, well over 20-year-old 3-tab shingle. We have more examples of exactly what I was showing over here on the right side of the front slope, where this specific damaged shingle, in order to access the nails, we both have to remove the ridge cap of this raised ridge vent, the vinyl and sponge covering, and the seal of the ridge, just to repair that properly. And that's going to extend. The more you pull that shit off, you can't reuse it. Once you pull it off to access the nails, it's illegal for us to, you know, reuse that same material. You got to tear it off, and you got to do the job right, and you got to repair it and replace it with what would be a proper repair. We also have to document that in the process of the RLS, which was suggested and directed by State Farm for us to remove the shingle and then you know, have it sent out for that locator or identification, we had already submitted documentation, video documentation of what happened just when we broke the bond, removed the nails, and removed that specific shingle for identification without even swapping a new one in there and putting new nails in it. So right below this tarp, we already have previous documentation of very clear consequential damage to that surrounding area just by breaking the bond and removing that shingle for RLS, which then, of course, because some of the seams were impacted, we had to tarp because that is the proper thing to do. We want to avoid any water coming in the home from, you know, our temps out here. We got to protect our MHIC, our company licensure, got to make sure that we're doing the right things in the community. So that tarp was necessary. It's not egregious. It's fairly small. I think 2 by maybe 4 feet, if that. So that also equates with these nails, and I did a minimal number of +4 shingles that would have to be equated for in that form of RLS with the tarp as well. So our total count with that 20 number on the front would be 24. Total count on the back, 8. And then we got one little straggler over here by our repair area that we are going to assess for, which is also directly below the seal of the ridge. So, and then right on the other side will be our repair. Just wanted to show our repair area again. I'm going to cut this video and send it in 2 forms so that we can all see this documentation of what it would actually look like, what kind of impact this patch framework would do to repair the roof properly, spread out all over across the roof, and then in the form of all those patchworks to address each one of these damaged shingles properly. You know, what would that damage? What would that look like? And would it make a little bit more sense, being that this is not a huge roof, it's not a huge cost or burden to State Farm either, to do this the right way by replacing it slope by slope in full and making sure that we are removing future liability as well, because on a 23-year-old, you know, 3-tab shingle, the process of repair is definitely going to create more damage. All of these repairs strung out are going to continue to multiply and create more damage. And then what happens to the very small little areas that don't have specific damage now, but as you can tell are already starting to lift, right? What happens when Mother Nature impacts this small little area that wasn't done the right way next year? And so is Mr. Willerton supposed to call in another 1 or 2 years for another 18 or 20 shingles to be labeled for repair? And then just keep continuing to do that in patchwork over patchwork, shingle by shingle, and completely turn the roof into a checkerboard because we can't even find the same shingle anymore. What would we do then? Would that uphold the home value if he was to, you know, turn the roof into a freaking checkerboard? I'm not sure that that would be the right solution. So we just want to document all stages of this process, give a proper overview of what it is that we're looking at on the property. And then I'm going to cut this video short and pick right back up where we left off, which will be the formal process of this attempted repair using the proper tools and methods and under the same guidelines and standards that, you know, State Farm will hold us accountable to. Thanks.